Hello there and welcome to my channel, Rover Turbo. In this video I'm going to be doing a how-to on how to set up a DSG clutch. So a DSG 7-speed dry clutch basically, which is the DQ200. This particular one is a generation 1 clutch, but if you've got all the tools and equipment you can basically do the Gen 1 or Gen 2. I've already shimmed the clutch, I've already checked for free play, and it's all perfect and now ready to go back in the car. So what I will say at this point in the video is that I won't release this video if something goes wrong, but I've never done this before. I'm not a mechanic as such, I'm just a DIYer. If any of you are watching this and you're thinking, can I do this? You can, with the correct tools and the knowledge and this video and lots of other videos. If you need to watch as many videos as you want, you can do. People say mechatronics, dry clutch, DSG, oh no, you can't do that, oh no. You know, gearbox places won't touch that gearbox. If I take that gearbox to a clutch with a new clutch and go, can you put a new clutch in that? They go, no, we can't do that, can't do that. A lot of places, gearbox places, won't even touch DSG gearboxes. So they're not that complicated if you know what you're doing. That's that. Here's the video. Hope you like. Please hit the like button, give me a thumbs up, put a comment down below, say I'm a twat, whatever you want to do, just put something out there. Cheers. Right, let's get on. The new clutch comes with new release bearings, arms, spacers, shims, everything basically you need to fit the clutch. Now it's very important on these that you get them shimmed correctly. They need to be shimmed correctly. Now there's loads of different ways you can do it. You can do it with one of these kits. And you can measure from this point to the flat of the gearbox and you can do a calculation. And then this one does the other clutch, depending on which way around you turn it. But what I did is I bought the tools. So this is the proper clutch setup kit for the Gen 1 and Gen 2 gearboxes. Now Gen 1 is up to May 2011, I believe, and this is a 2011 car, and then Gen 2, generation 2, is from that point on. So each one of these are different. So Gen 1 has one groove in it, and Gen 2 has two grooves in it. You get the setting tool, you get a DTI, and you get a couple of hook tools that allow you to check the free play in the clutch once it's in, and the plate and that to set up the DTI, and an extension piece here. So this is quite expensive. This was 280, 300 quid, something like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through the process of how to shim this gearbox up. So the difference between generation 1 or Gen 1 and Gen 2 gearboxes is the different. How you can tell easily is with the release bearings. Okay, the early type are cast like these, and the later type pressed. Now the easy way you can tell that is the larger one has a T-piece, a bit like a hammerhead shark at the end, and it uses a slightly different mechanism here and here to pivot on as well. So that's how you tell the difference between the two generations of clutches, by looking at it. So the basic idea is, let's start with this clutch first. Okay, so you have to do each clutch lever, obviously the mechatronic unit here, it pushes this clutch lever up, okay, which engages the clutch. Okay, so the idea is we need the set point between here and here to be exactly correct, which is basically between here or here, depending on which clutch it is, and here. Okay, so what these tools do is they're basically a clutch, the actual physical clutch. So you need this tool, and you need whatever generation tool you've got. So what you've basically got is your release bearing. You've got these little notches and these notches, and you've got these shims. Okay, they're all different sizes. Okay, so there's several ways you can do this. It depends on which way you want to do it. It doesn't really make any difference. What they recommend you do is you put the thickest shim on first, underneath. Put that on. Okay. Obviously I haven't put any shims on. And then you put the tool on. Which engages with the clutch. Then you use this to slot into there. Now you want no gap between here and here. As you can see, there's a massive gap in there. I'll get my fingernail in there. So what we want is the appropriate size shim to go in between here and here. Okay, so I suppose the easiest way to do that is to pick a shim and chuck it in. Okay, that's no good. That feels a bit tight. Too loose. That's very close. Too loose. Right. Or a combination of two. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to try this one. So what we do, we take the release bearing off, and put the shim on, put the release bearing on, put the tool back on, and then we check it. Okay. Right, that still feels a little bit loose. I mean, there's no play in that, so we might have it there. Also, what you need to be aware of is whenever you're setting this up, you have a clutch tolerance as well. Okay. So what they need you to do is whatever the shim size is that you calculate that you need in this gearbox, you need to add or subtract the tolerance that they give you on the clutch pack. Okay, so we're working with K1 clutch here, I believe. It's irrelevant for me, but I need to tell you this. On the printed, this is the old clutch. Printed on the clutch, it has K1 and then a measurement, and K2 and then a measurement. So K1, you can't see that because it's, I don't know if that's plus, but that'll be plus or minus 0.2 millimeters. K2 is minus 0. Whatever that is. Okay, so on this particular clutch, you need to add or subtract the tolerance from your shim size. Okay, so this, say for example, this was plus 0.2, you'd have to take 0.2 millimeters off of your shim. So whatever you calculate your shim size to be, you need to take that measurement off of your shim. Or if it was plus, say for example, it was plus 0.4 millimeters, you need to add 4 millimeters to your measurement of whatever your shim size is. Okay, that's why they give you so many shims. Now luckily I have noticed this in a lot of the modern clutches, the new clutches, there is no tolerance. We've got K1 0.0, K2 0.0, so there is no tolerance. I do not have to add or subtract any measurement to my shims on this particular clutch. On this clutch, obviously you would have had to do that calculation, but obviously I do not, but you would need to. So once you've set up, you're happy with your shims on one of the clutches, let's say for example we're happy with that, take that off, and take this off, we need to take our shim off, and we need to keep that in a safe place because we want to reuse that. And then we take our second release bearing, that's our second release bearing. Now this one is slightly different because it has a step in it here. Okay, so this is the thickest shim that I can find. So we're going to put that in there. It only seems to fit in one way as well, just to let you know, because that does not want to locate very nicely in there. If you turn it up, it does. And now we need to do that again, because obviously we've got two different sizes here of and we just need to check that that is actually fully engaged in that, which it is. And as we can see by that, you can't even see the groove. And that doesn't go in. Okay, so that shim is too big. So I need to take that off and then try a different size shim until I've got that perfect. Okay, that's the basic principle of how you shim these gearboxes, but you need the special tools to do it. Whatever tools you choose, you need the tools. These release bearings, these all come in the kit. A little plastic piece down there, that comes in the kit. This piece comes in the kit. The two bolts come in the kit. This bracket comes in the kit. So all this is all completely replaceable. So I'm going to shim all this up, get happy with it, and then I'll cut back in on the next stage. So I've got the first one done perfectly. I've got that shimmed up, I'm happy with that. I've got my shim over here, so you take that off and then you put your second release bearing on. Make sure it's engaged properly, make sure it's engaged with the mechatronics here, and then you put your shim on. So I've obviously been going through my shims, trying it as I go. And then that goes in there perfectly. So this is basically replicating the circuit, but you get a new one, which is what holds this in. So this is basically replicating the clutch pack, and this is replicating the circuit. So that's it. So basically I'm happy with that. So what I can do, let's just take this off. We'll try this one again. Not that it should have changed, but just to show you. Okay, so you make sure, see, this is engaged, that's engaged. Give it a little bit of a spin just to make sure it's centered. And there you go. You can't really get much better than that. So that is the clutch shimmed. Right, so that's both of the release bearings now on and connected. They also, in the kit, they give you a new circlip, 2 plastic bungs and a new bearing to go into the end of the crankshaft, which I'm not going to replace. The plastic bungs are for the top of the mechatronics to stop all the oil coming out, so you need to bung that, take the vent off and bung that, and the other one goes on the vent, which is that bottom cap, to stop all the gearbox oil coming out. So you take that cap, take that vent off, and you put the cap on. Obviously this hasn't got any gearbox oil in it, so you can remove these gearboxes without taking the gearbox oil out because it's sealed, obviously, because of these. So right, so that's that. So now we need to fit the clutch and then set up the press tool and then press the clutch pack on this kit here, which is a separate kit. So basically this is to remove it. So this engages into these sections here and then they rotate, and then this pushes down on here and it pulls the clutch off. This kit here bolts to the top of the bell housing, and using this piece it presses the clutch down. So you need to set up a torque wrench to 12 Newton meters, I believe, and then basically tighten it down, but I'll show you doing that. So basically the clutch can now go on. They recommend that you put a little bit of light lubricant, tiny amount of lubricant on the splines, just to aid the clutch to go on. A bit on here, and then the best way to carry these is to cup your hands here and here with both hands, and then lift the clutch basically evenly down onto the gearbox. So that's the clutch into the gearbox. Now what you need to make sure is that it is actually engaged with the splines. Okay, so obviously you've got your friction plate underneath here that needs to be engaged with your spline. So there is a set measurement between the top of here and the top of in there. Okay, so it needs to kind of go down. Normally what you can do is just spin it. It will normally go down. There you go. It will go down on its own. Okay, and then that measurement I believe is around 6 millimeters, something like that. Yeah, it's around about 6 millimeters. So it's either going to be around that, or it's going to be obvious it hasn't fully gone down. And then using the other kit, we've got this piece here, which goes into there. We've got this that bolts through there and bolts down onto there. So I'll get that bolted on. So this kit is now bolted through the holes on the gearbox here and here. So it's just nuts and bolts, literally. And then obviously this is pushing down on there. Now using the torque wrench, so the idea is that you don't want to exert more than 12 Newton meters of pressure when you're pushing this clutch. And you just need to go down far enough basically to get your circlip on. Right, so that seems to be pushed down now enough where I can get my circlip on there. So I'm going to take this off and I'm just going to check that this slides in, and obviously we can put our new circlip on. Okay, and there's one more thing we need to do, and that is to check for free play in the clutches. Okay, which is basically using the DTI in the kit, and I'll set that up and I'll show you. So that goes on there beautifully. So that means my clutch, my circlip will go in there. So they give you this arm, this nut and bolt, this DTI with various different lengths of pieces that you can put on there. So basically that is pushed on top of the friction plate down there. It's bolted up and it's on 0. So now what we do is we use the tools that they give you, these 2 tools, and we get them in here and we hook them underneath the friction plate, one there and one there. And obviously using 2 hands you pull it up and down to it's obviously I'm going to struggle doing this with one hand. You pull it up and down, up and down, up and down. Now you need between 3 or 0.3 and 1 millimeter of play. So that's between 30 and all the way round, basically. So where that, if that had gone all the way around where that is now, that's 1 millimeter. So we've got between 30 and 1 millimeter of play. I'm going to check that properly myself with 2 hands, make sure it's all correct and set up, and then you need to put the replacement clutch disc in, the new one, in there with the obviously the new circlip in there, and then you need to do the same with that clutch plate as well. You need to check the free play, which is basically this free play here. So it needs to be not too loose, not too tight. It needs to be within perfect tolerance, otherwise the clutch won't work properly. So just as a note, they recommend you do this in 3 places. You check the measurement in 3 different places, so 120 degrees, so there, there and there, to check the measurement in all 3 places to make sure that you haven't got any, you know, unevenness or anything like that. So that's just a note to add in there. Okay, so this is the new centerpiece and this is the new circlip they give you. So this has a notch missing here, and at the opposite end a flat bit. So that line, I believe, is there a line in here that it lines up with? Not that I can see. Put my flat bit lines up with my flat bit. So it's got to engage obviously into the clutch plate. We're going to put my circlip in here, and then we're going to check the play, the free play on this clutch as well. So this one's set up in exactly the same way. You bolt it on there, you put on the appropriate adapter, you set it up so it's just touching the top of there, and you zero this by moving the bezel and tightening up this outer nut here. And now I just need to get me 2 thingies in here and literally lift the clutch plate up and down. So same measurement, yeah, so between 30 and 100 on this gauge, so I'll just check that and make sure that's good. Got 85 on that one, so it goes all the way around to about 85, so that's still within tolerance. So that's basically it, so that's set up. I am going to do one more thing, and that is to drag it over to the car like I did before, plug it in, power the car up, and try and do basic settings again and see whether it will go through and get to the point where I can start the car, because it was failing at 255 100 and 255 101 depending on which one it decided to. And the only other thing that it was doing, that again was another thing that made me think it might be the clutch, is when it was engaging a gear the clutch pack would move. Well, it's not supposed to do that. This is not, the 2 pieces are not supposed to be attached because it wasn't engaging the clutches. Now it must be the mechatronics, these pistons here must push the clutch plates to engage the clutch, so they're constantly pushed when you're driving down the road, which seems a little bit unbelievable to me, where it's you know, it's the pressure from that mechatronics unit is constantly putting pressure. You know, that piston is, you know, under pressure permanently. So the hydraulics in that have to be 100%. You know, if you're driving down, you know, 70 miles an hour down the motorway for 3 hours, you know, that's, so yeah, okay, right, well that's it. That's basically how you set one of these up. Hope you liked the video, hope you found it informative. Please give me a thumbs up, a like on the video, subscribe, check out my other videos. Lots of interesting stuff of basically a bloke doesn't really know what he's doing, but he works it out. He learns, he watches, he does, and that's basically me. So thank you very much.